time for funny, furry, fuzzy fun with Owl TV. Track a baby koala in Australia. Meet 2 giant pandas from China. Check out a bear who loves dishwashers. And drop in on a family of chimpanzees. All this and more. Hold on to your sides as these animals prove they were born to be wild. From Owl TV.
Deforestation is endangering much of the world's wildlife. Australian koalas feed on eucalyptus leaves, and a research team from Queensland's University of Technology is trying to find out what's happening to the koalas as the eucalyptus forests are being destroyed. Owl TV's Claire Wilson joins Neil White on a radio tracking expedition.
So what are you going to do first?
The first thing we have to do is to use the radio tracking equipment, the receiver and the directional antenna to locate the koala, and then hopefully we can go and catch it.
Why did you decide to study koalas in this area?
What we found that there was a real lack of knowledge as to how koalas use these very broken up habitats. If you look around you here, you get small groups of trees with large areas of paddocks in between. We're very interested to see how koalas move about in these areas and what happens when you start clearing these forests for further farmland.
What are all the ribbons for?
When we see a koala in a tree, we want to uniquely mark the tree, and so we can map it later, and we use these small metal tags to write the numbers on, and we use the tape so we can find the tags later. That's the koala we're tracking, up in the tall tree there. She's got her back young with her. We should get the others so that we can catch her.
Okay. If there is a forest like this are cleared, could the koala become endangered?
Yes, Claire, we've already cleared about 50% of our eucalypt forest, and so if we keep clearing at the rate that we have done, we will significantly endanger the koala population. I don't know how well you can see this, Claire, but what we're trying to do is to coax the koala out of the tree using this flag on the end of a long pole. That's got her moving. Her offsprings change trees. Claire, if you can help Wendy, you can get the young koala down, and then we can keep going with the mother. Hold her there. Look, take this. First thing we want to do is to take this old transmitter off before the battery fails and put a new transmitter collar on her. So, she's free of that one, and we can get that replaced. I'll get someone to do that for me. Have a look at the teeth, that's very good. The tooth wear gives us a bit of an idea of how old the animal is. It's a little bit difficult to see in there, but on the teeth, the brown dentine starts to show through the enamel. She's a fairly young animal. Important things to remember about koalas is they are marsupials, and you can see here the pouch on this female, and actually they've got 2 nipples, and it's actually the right one that the young that she has will be feeding from occasionally now. And the other important thing is to allow them to climb with these very sharp claws, very curved, And on the rear foot, the thumb, if you like, doesn't have a claw, and the first digit and the second digit are fused together, and they use that, well, it's believed that they use that as a grooming claw. Right, we need to take a head length now. Can I have the vernier calipers? Thank you. We use head length and also the tooth wear to give some idea of the age of the animal. It's a very crude measurement, but 12.7. Thank you.
What are the tags in his ears for?
Well, as well as having the radio transmitter collar, sometimes the batteries will fail, so we use a coloured tag system to identify each koala. The yellow is number 1, this is koala 1, the orange is 3, and again another yellow being 1, so this is koala 131. And each tag is individually numbered in case one is lost. The reason they're brightly coloured is so that we can identify the koala from the ground using binoculars. Okay, before we let her go again, we'll have to put a new transmitter on. Thanks very much. And you can see here the antenna fitted to the collar with the new battery fitted with the transmitter assembly. If you could lean her forward a little bit. Thanks. Got to do this as quickly as possible. And that'll keep her going for another 6 months.
So, what are we going to do now?
What we'll do now is we'll give her a young back and release her back up the tree. I'll get Mum out first, okay? And when I've got her a little bit settled, if you grab her young. Okay, if you get the young out. That's it, just open the bag. That's it, lift her up. That's it. You should be, that'll do. That's good. Okay, when Mum looks at the tree. Okay, now, can you put the young on? Hold on, that's it. That's great, perfect. We hope that the research that we're doing here will result in better management of our farmlands and in that way help to protect the koala by protecting its habitat.
Sometimes, when a male orangutan wants to be scary, it swells its face by filling its throat pouch with air. It then lets out a long call, ending with bubbling burps and sighs. A special report from Kate Ricard.
These Amazon woolly monkeys originally came from the rainforests of Brazil in South America, but their Amazon home is being destroyed so fast that they and thousands of other species could be extinct by the year 2000. The colony of woolly monkeys was brought to Cornwall in Britain in the early 1960s and became the first protected breeding colony in the world, although all the monkeys here now have been born here. My parents used to look after the monkeys, so I lived here from when I was born until fairly recently. Now I live nearby, but I still come here as much as I can to help out. Well, there's several enclosures. They're all connected together, and there's a few indoor rooms as well, and they can just move freely between all of them, you know, whenever they feel like it. There's 20 monkeys in the colony at the moment, and there's been quite a few new babies recently, and the youngest one's Chico, and he's 6 months old. There's quite a few different families, but they're all sort of linked up into one colony, and there's like one leader, it's Charlie, he's a dominant male, he like keeps them all in step. There are several sort of families all joined together. They like playing a lot, and even like the dominant males and things still play, and with the babies and everything, it's really nice.
The best thing to do is to perhaps make a nice big laugh, so the monkeys have got somewhere to sit when they come over to visit you.
At the meetings, when the monkeys come out, and all the visitors are told that they shouldn't hold the monkeys. I mean, they can stroke them, but they've got to treat them with a bit of respect and shouldn't like grab onto them or anything, because it just make them feel insecure.
In fact, if you do all of these things in you sit nice and still and treat them with a lot of respect, they'll probably think of you as being monkeys in no time at all. And even if one of you were to upset one of the mother monkeys, the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is that you would be disciplined. Well, that's nothing very painful, but I suppose you might feel a bit of a twit being told off by a monkey.
They come outside quite a lot, and just like in the gardens and the trees and that, but they don't run away. I mean, no monkey has ever tried to run away because they just don't want to. They're so happy here. They've got all their family and their friends and plenty of food and warmth, and they're just really happy. They don't need to. When they come out into the garden, they forage around for insects and things just like they would in the wild. We'd like to introduce them into the wild one day, but it doesn't look like it's going to be possible with the rate that the Amazon's being destroyed. I mean, it's quite possible there won't be an Amazon in another 50 years or so. If there's no habitat for them to return to, this could be the only place that you'll see woolly monkeys in the future at all.
Hippos love to go swimming. To avoid the sun, they spend the whole day in the water. And they can stay underwater for up to half an hour. To help them, they can even close up their ears and nose. And their webbed toes make swimming a cinch. Though they're so heavy, they can practically stroll around on the bottom of the lake. Hippos even carry their own sunscreen. A sticky pink substance oozes from their pores to provide waterproof protection from the sun. But if they really want to beat the heat and stay safe from the sun, they jump into nature's own sunscreen. Mud.
Owl TV visits the Toronto Zoo with Ryan and Tom to get a close-up look at visiting pandas from China with Toby Styles.
So it is Ching Ching and Chuan Chuan.
Ching Ching and Chuan Chuan, which are names of areas in Sichuan.
Did they give them matching names for a purpose?
It's just a form of endearment that they use when they name their pets.
I noticed on their hands, they can manipulate things fairly well.
Well, you see, the panda is a bear that's adapted to eat bamboo. Now, a normal bear has 5 claws that are designed for stabbing or ripping, but it's not opposable like our thumb. Now, the panda adapted so the wrist bone and the thumb is growing. It's got a little pad in the end so they can grab like that. So that's a special adaptation to eat this bamboo. Pandas are great big eaters. Because they eat bamboo, and bamboo doesn't have very much nutrition, and they don't have very good digestive systems for eating bamboo, surprisingly enough, they virtually have to eat most of the day to get enough nutrition from it.
That must take a lot of bamboo.
And they get about 50 kilos a day between the two of them. Now, they don't eat it all because you can watch them, they're pretty wasteful. Yeah. All they eat is the inner part. They peel off all the rest of the part. You see they've got enormous big molar teeth for crushing the bamboo because bamboo is very, very hard.
So they never eat meat?
Well, they will eat it if they find it.
Why are they so endangered back in China?
Well, the big problem with pandas is that they depend entirely on bamboo for survival. Now, bamboo is an interesting plant. Every 40 or 60 or 80 years, it goes to flower, which is very natural. And the flowers, of course, is part of the reproduction. It starts new bamboo growing. But then the big plants die, and it does it all at one time. And so then there's 5 or 6 or 7 years before there's more bamboo for the pandas to eat. Now, of course, 100 years ago when this happened, the pandas, when the bamboo died in one valley, would simply move to another area and eat the bamboo there, a different kind of bamboo. But they can't do that now because when they leave the reserve areas where they're in and very well protected, they come in contact with man and there's no bamboo there. There's rice paddies or there's a hydroelectric dam or something. There's less than 1,000 pandas left in the world, in the entire world. Because of this bamboo die-off, they've set up rescue stations. And what they do is they find the pandas in the wild that are near starvation or sick or hurt, and they bring them in and they give them expert veterinary care and they sort of feed them up and then they can release them. These two, Jing Jing, the female, she was found nearly dead from starvation. And Chuan Chuan, the male, he was so weak from hunger that he fell off a cliff. And he had a horrible wound. It fractured his skull. And they found him. Some park people brought him in. He was just about dead. But they saved him. And as you can see today, he's a picture of health.
Oh, yeah. Will they eat fruits or rice?
We give them some apples. We feed them a porridge, which is made up of wheat and soy and rice flour and eggs and milk. It's sort of a supplement. They get that twice a day. They love that.
Aren't they from the raccoon family? Because there was some indecision about the pandas.
So there was some controversy about it, but the current thinking is that they are just a highly specialized bear.
How much do the pandas weigh?
Well, Chuan, that's the male, is about 70 kilos, 150 pounds. And she's about 20 pounds, 10 kilos heavier than he is. They go up to about 200 pounds, about 100 kilos maximum.
What are the pandas' natural habitat?
Well, they're now restricted to just the Sichuan province of China. It's sort of a mountainous area.
When is mating season for the pandas?
Well, they only normally mate once a year. These are just a little young yet to mate.
How long until a baby panda is born?
Well, it's 150 days, which is fairly short gestation period. And one of the interesting things is a 200-pound female panda gives birth to a tiny, naked, hairless baby.
What are the pandas' natural enemies?
Well, besides man, who of course is the #1 enemy of all animals, when they're adult, they probably don't have any. Young pandas, leopards sometimes might take one.
Why do they have such furry coats?
That serves as a protection from them, because it's fairly rainy where they live, so it's very oily and water repellent. The reason we think they're colored black and white is because pandas don't normally live together. They only come together to mate. It's so that in the dense bamboo they can see each other very clearly. Somebody said black and white and loved all over, and that's pandas.
Here's a tough question. What color is a polar bear? White? Not really. Yellow? Polar bear hairs act as an ultraviolet radiation trap that captures light. They are actually clear and hollow to help them transfer heat to the polar bear's skin, which is... That's right, black. A group of wolves is called a pack. A group of seals is called a pod. Ever wonder what a group of gorillas is called? You guessed it, it's called a band of gorillas.
Owl TV visits Pat Birchfield and the chimpanzees in the Species Survival Plan at the Gladys Porter Zoo in Brownsville, Texas, with Josh and Travis.
Are chimpanzees monkeys or apes?
Chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas all belong to a group called great apes. And the most obvious difference between them and monkeys is the fact that the apes don't have tails.
Are they smart?
They're very smart. Research scientists think chimpanzees are the next smartest animal when compared to man. They actually can put together simple sentences.
You mean they speak?
No, researchers have taught them to use American Sign Language, and in that manner they have been able to construct simple sentences like want sweet fruit, things like that. And up until researchers started working with chimps, orangs, and gorillas in signing, we thought we were the only animals capable of that kind of thought.
How are they like humans?
Well, for one thing, the chimpanzee is one of the few animals in nature that's been observed to use tools. They'll take a stick and stick it down into a termite mound to get the termites onto the stick or piece of grass, and then they eat the termites off the blade of grass. So chimpanzees have been observed using tools, and that's something that we used to think only humans did.
Where do they live?
Chimpanzees come from the rainforests of tropical West Africa.
Are they territorial?
Chimps live in family groups of usually from 2 to 20 animals that will move through a larger territory, and they move from one area to the next looking for food.
When do they eat?
Well, chimpanzees spend a lot of their time looking for food. Chimpanzees eat a lot of different things. They eat leaves, they eat fruits, they eat insects, lizards. Sometimes chimpanzees even eat monkeys. So chimpanzees are what we call omnivores.
How heavy are they when they're born?
Oh, right around 3 pounds.
How old is the baby?
The smallest baby is right at about 14 months old.
Do they all take care of the baby or just the mom?
Well, within the family group, you'll see the babies playing among all the animals, and some of them are tolerant and some of them aren't so tolerant. It's kind of like a big family with a lot of aunts and uncles.
How big do they get?
Well, in terms of weight, an adult male chimp might weigh 150 or 160 pounds. The females are slightly smaller. They only grow to about 140 pounds.
Are they dangerous?
Well, most animals in nature aren't really dangerous to man unless we get close to them. Most animals try and avoid man as much as possible.
Do they like people?
They become accustomed to people, but in our zoo, we try not to turn animals into mirror images of humans. We want them to act like wild chimpanzees, so we use as little human companionship as possible. Sometimes if we have to hand raise a baby, we'll even put it in with another kind of an ape as opposed to having a human for a friend.
Do they live longer in captivity than out in the wild?
Probably so, because there are predators and diseases and parasites that might overwhelm them in the wild. But they get all the same sicknesses that we would get. They'd get the flu, they could get polio, tuberculosis. That's one of the reasons that we have to be very careful with the apes and the monkeys at the zoo, is because they could catch things from the people.
Do they make good pets?
Well, we don't like to encourage people to make pets out of wild animals. They need to live in the wild where they come from. They can be domesticated or tamed, but they're a little bit too messy for most people to want to keep in the house.
Are they endangered?
Yes, they're very much endangered, just like every animal that comes from a rainforest. The rainforests in West Africa are being chopped down very, very rapidly. But researchers and biologists are working very hard to try and establish reserves in Africa. At the same time, zoos and conservation biologists are working very hard to increase their numbers in zoos and universities as well as research laboratories.
Ever wonder how much a grizzly bear eats? It's the world's biggest meat-eating land animal. It consumes up to 35 pounds of food daily. You better get him something to eat, quick! A grizzly bear can crunch nuts, branches, grasses, bones, roots, bulbs, berries, salmon, mushroom, deer, rodents, insects, honey. The list goes on. We say grizzly bears are omnivorous. They eat just about anything and everything. So it's always a good idea to let a feasting bear feast.
14-year-old Charlotte Corney lives at the Isle of Wight Zoo, which is run by her parents. Recently, they had an unusual house guest, a black bear cub called Winnie.
I've been living here 13 years now, and every night when I come home from school, I can see Winnie's paws up on the sideboard, trying to eat the plants usually. And as soon as I tap on the window, she knows I'm home. We feed Winnie twice a day with milk and Weetabix from a bottle. She loves her milk, and whilst we're feeding her, we have to be careful that she doesn't run out of milk, because then she starts to get very agitated. During her milk feeding time, she seems to get covered in milk. Well, Winnie's come to live with us for 3 months now because her mother at Woburn Zoo couldn't feed her because there was 4 in a litter, and she couldn't cope. When Winnie was small, she was quite easy to handle, but as you can see, she likes to pull things off the side by standing on her hind legs. But I think she enjoys doing it. The parrot seems to find the whole thing a bit bewildering to some extent. He just looks upon Winnie as something out of the ordinary to what usually goes on in our house. Winnie loves to go in the dishwasher, especially when there's plates and cutlery in there. She adores it. Sometimes she gets stuck, but she doesn't really mind. She seems to know that there's food inside the fridge, and so every day she tries and tries to get in there, but she just doesn't seem to be able to actually open the door yet, which is maybe a good thing. She absolutely loves honey. As soon as she sees the jar, she'll know. We put it on a spoon, and sometimes we have to have 2 for her, just in case we run out of honey. And she'll just eat and eat and eat until she's about to burst. We've had many animals in our house since the 13 years that we've been here, and that includes pumas, lions, tigers, leopards, and maybe a few different kinds of birds. But Winnie is completely different from all of them. She's so nosy and inquisitive, it's amazing. And she just doesn't quieten down until she's extremely tired. So she is very difficult in some ways to keep inside the house, but we're managing okay. At weekends, I'm involved with the tigers because as we've just had 4 cubs now, I can show them to the public. When I'm a bit older, I'll be able to be involved with some of the bigger animals in the zoo. My ambition is to get a degree in animal behaviour and then open up my own zoo that specialises in breeding endangered species such as pandas.
If you've enjoyed Owl TV, be sure to read Owl Magazine.